I'm actually going to start recording here so we can, I guess that means you get the volunteer to go first. All right. Mm. Let's see. Okay, we're getting set up. Let me see. Ms. Zhang, you got a question? What's going on, Mr. Loggins? Are we having some trouble getting it back up, or?
No, I'm waiting on you. I thought you
Oh,
were
okay.
okay.
Sorry.
So
I had
we're ready?
someone I was texting. I'm sorry. That's all right.
No
Yeah, we're
worries.
ready. You can go. Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it. Okay. You all see this?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes.
All right. All right, so I did mine on the gingerbread. This is how it was spelled in the 1500s age. That's for the recipe I found in England, the UK. It was a popular Christmas dessert. This is what we see as a modern gingerbread today, or in America, or around the world. The gingerbread men were actually inspired by Queen Elizabeth. She made little gingerbread men of her noblemen and gave those to them at an event. This is a list of modern gingerbread ingredients. So you'll see like whole milk, molasses or honey, eggs, butter, sugar, flour, and then all of the spices. Oh, and baking soda. Um, so here's the Columbian Exchange. The Columbian Exchange resulted in a massive transfer of both plants, animals from the Old World to the New World, and from the New World to the Old World, like tobacco, pumpkins, turkey, squash, pineapple, sweet potatoes, peppers, avocados, peanuts, potatoes, tomatoes, corn, beans, vanilla, all went to Europe from North America. And from the Old World to the New World, we got all the fun diseases, uh, turnips, livestock, horses, pigs, all of that, grain, sugarcane, the honeybee, citrus fruits, coffee bean, olives, peaches and pears, stuff like that, which, like our tomatoes inspired the Italian dishes, and peanut or other dishes, in other regions. The turkey was used in England once it was brought over for mostly royalty, because they would be able to afford a bird like that. Um, all right. The gingerbread today is quite different from what it used to be. Once upon a time, gingerbread simply meant preserved by ginger, because ginger does preserve things. By the 15th century, it was a cake made from dense dough of breadcrumbs mixed with honey and spices. Often, this dough was pressed into molds with intricate designs. It was made with a variety of breads, coarse, fine, white, and then it would be colored with red wine or sandalwood, and or gilded with real gold. And in the picture behind you is the gingerbread done with the Tudor rose. This was, like I said, a royal dessert. This is an example. This is of the actual recipe from a book in the 15th century. You can see by reading it. Some of it we can understand, how they're spelling and stuff. And then this is a translation, one of the translations to the same recipe. Here is the ingredient list from the medieval times. So a cup of honey, a loaf of bread that they would make stale and then turn them into breadcrumbs. Cinnamon, black pepper, ginger, cloves, and then to coat red sandalwood and cinnamon, which red sandalwood's pretty. Honey, the beekeeping came, the knowledge of beekeeping came from Egypt. Alexandria area is what I read mostly. Honey has been used in various ways since ancient times, sweetening food, drinks, and for healing properties for humans and animals. During the 14th and 15th century, honey wasn't the most important element of beekeeping and its purposes. Wax from the honeycomb was used to make candles, soap, sewing, armor, blacksmithing, archery, and wax seals. The kings and his nobles would use wax and mix it with a resin, melt it, and attach it to documents when they put their seals into it to show their agreement to whatever was in the document. There wasn't enough wax in England to support the royal nobles, churches, and monasteries, so it would be imported from Eastern Europe, Spain, and Russia. And below you'll see there's a video I've attached on the history of honeybees for more information if you're interested. Bread, the earliest bread was made around 8000 BC in the Middle East, specifically Egypt. Grains were crushed and the bakers produced what we now commonly recognize as its closest form as chaptis from India or tortillas like from Mexico. Throughout the world in the following centuries, countries developed their own versions of bread. Romans invented water milling around 450 BC, and the richer Romans considered whiter bread as higher quality and more suited to the educated and wealthy. In British medieval times, bread baking became quite the status symbol. The upper classes preferred fine, white loaves, while those of poorer status were left with rye, bran, and coarser breads. There's also a video attached about how they made bread in medieval times. Cinnamon was considered to be one of the first traded spices in the ancient world around 2000 BC. At the beginning of the 16th century, Portuguese traders arrived in Sri Lanka, where the spice was growing and was the largest producer of cinnamon at the time. They took control of the area, started their own monopoly on the spice. They established a fort on the island in 1518 and protected their control over the valuable commodity over 100 years. Cinnamon's primary use was to mask the smell and taste of spoiled meats. Cinnamon was perfect for it because it has polyphenols, which inhibit the growth of bacteria. Also, black pepper, peppercorn. Black pepper originated from the forests from the Malabar coast in southern West India. It has been used in India cooking for 4,000 years. Egyptians also used this spice in mummification rituals. And 2,000 years ago, pepper reached Southeast Asia and has been grown in Malaysia and Indonesia since that time. 16th century sea merchants subjected to their employees to a no pocket, no cuffs dress code to prevent them from stealing peppercorns because they were so valuable, more valuable than gold. You could pay your rent, debts, and peppercorns. Dowries would consist of pepper, weird enough. Government officials accepted pepper bribes for favors. And, okay, ginger. The history of ginger goes back over 5,000 years when Indians and ancient Chinese considered it a tonic root for all elements. While ginger originated in Southeast Asia, it has a long history of being cultivated in other countries. At an early date, it was exported to ancient Rome from India, and it was used extensively by Romans, but almost disappeared from the pantry when the Roman Empire fell. After the end of the Roman Empire, the Arabs took control of the spice trade. Ginger became quite costly, and many other spices. In medieval times, it was commonly imported in a preserved form to make sweets. Um, Cloves are native to the Malacca Islands, now part of Indonesia. Cloves have been used for thousands of years. One of the earliest references to them says the Chinese, in order to approach the emperor, had a few cloves in their mouths to sweeten the breath. Cloves were once very costly and played an important part in world history. Wars were fought in Europe and with native islanders to secure their rights to the profitable clove business. Natives in the islands planted a clove tree for each child born and believed that the fate of the tree was linked to the fate of the child. In England, they would call it red sanders. Sandalwood originated from India, and it was mostly used for dyeing fabrics and foods. So you get that pretty red color once it was grinded down from the actual tree and or wood. Sandalwood has been sacred for 4,000-year-old history, being mentioned in Sanskrit and Chinese manuscripts. The oil was used in religious rituals, and many temples and sacred carvings were crafted from its soft wood. The ancient Egyptians imported the wood and used it in medicines, embalming, and ritual burning to their gods. And Buddhism was considered to be one of the three incense integral to Buddhist practice, together with aloes wood and cloves. Depression, anxiety, and insomnia were thought to be improved by sandalwood and was believed to be promoted in spiritual practices, peaceful relaxation, openness, and grounding. It is used in many death ceremonies to help crossing over and to comfort mourners, as well as in many forms of initiation to open the disciples' mind to receive consecration. So it was used in a lot of different religious practices, and it is now used in a lot of different oils, candles, not the original form because it's still really expensive, the oils are. This is a spice timeline. So it kind of gives you the breakdown of the spice trade, the Silk Road trade, and then the Roman Empire, and then the passages, and then, once Vasco da Gama, sailed around and got to India. And then when the Americans entered the spice trade. Okay, there's a video here, but I'll kind of read. If you read This is the Money, it's really confusing, actually, and still is if you've ever been to the UK. Not as confusing as all of this, like a crown, a sixpence, a shilling. You have pretty much just a pound. I mean, you do have coins and stuff, but I never really understood it. And that's a cool video about money. But to save time, we'll just continue. These are the average prices in medieval times. I did a lot of research trying to figure out prices. I mean, I even bought books. It was pretty hard to find, but these were the averages. Honey was 3 shillings 4 pence per pound. Red sandalwood, 12 to 15 shillings per pound. Spices could be anywhere from 1 to 10 shillings per pound, depending on the time and how they got the spices, who was selling them. A lot of spices could be fake. The same with honey. Honey could be diluted. Queen Elizabeth actually put strict laws in place about honey. Bread was actually cheaper than what you would think. It was 1 farthing per loaf. These are some UK castles where you would see gingerbread be, here. These are actually castles that I've visited, so in the UK. And this is an actual kitchen in the same time frame that has changed a little bit, but not much. I also, this was a kitchen that I visited from the first castle that I showed you. And that's like the back pantry, and that's the big fireplace. So they would cook food over the fireplace. This is also another video about how this guy here is showing how they would make gingerbread over an open fire in just a pot. And they would once they would do that, heat it up, then they would make the mold, and it would sit out for a few days. And the ginger would keep it from, it would preserve it too. Right, and this is cool information about utensils. They would eat gingerbread with their hands because it was a bread, but I wanted to add a little info about utensils. Yeah, so a Greek princess who married an Italian nobleman, she brought with her one of the first forks, and they did not like that one because she was a woman, and they just viewed it as scandalous. And yeah, so then the next time frame, like in the 1300s, King Charles of France held several forks in his vaults. They didn't use them. They really fought against the practice of forks. They would use their hands and knives. It wasn't until Catherine Medici, who is Italian, I do believe, yes, from Italy. She brought them to France when she married King Henry II. And to England to get that information, Thomas published an account of his overseas observations, including the uses of forks. And that's how forks came to England. And this is a video. If we have time to watch it, it's up to you, Mr. Irvin. This is a Christmas celebration because they would eat gingerbread primarily around Christmas time and or a big event.
Yeah, we probably have time. Sorry, I forgot I'd muted my microphone.
Okay, so I'll play this.
Happy St. Sylvester's Day from here at the Tower of London. Rejoice, rejoice, hear our new world shall come to thee, praise, cry out. Oh, come, oh, come, oh, night, into thy triumph shine, in ancient times is given, Lord, in power and majesty and love. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, praise, cry out. Hey! Well, I thought we had forgotten this carol. However, we find it was still in our hearts and in our heads, much to our delight. Wait, the keys. Stand aside. Ah, there are smells here to assault and to indeed veritably stimulate the nostrils. Gracious of so thank you. My Lord Prince Bishop, my eyes do not deceive me. Is this a magnificent feast you have prepared for us, sir? My Lord, in the Holy Lands, a dish which I know you became most familiar with, that of figs cooked in wines and spices. Many of you here who have never before seen such a dish. It is called rice, and it comes from countries far off, but is now being grown by the noblemen of the southern parts of what can be called Italy and the northern parts of Lombardy. You think of everything, my Lord Bex, is well presented. Cheeses to remind you of home, my dear. But not we also like to make sure that she has a good strong smell of home. That she... There we are. Am I not mistaken that those are seeds in the middle there? Yes, my lord, they are to sweeten your breath. It is fennel seed. Fennel being coated in a spice called sugar. Sugar is a most extraordinary spice. We know not if you are familiar with it, for it is most prodigious expensive. And my lord, coffins of mincemeat in the shape of cribs to honor the birth of Lord Jesus. It is most meat and quite delightful. Let us rouse our spirits with a soldier's song, my good fellow, indeed. Adam lying fountain in a pond, for 1,000 winters, thought he not too long.
All right, that's me.
That was really good. You
That
made
was really
had a
good.
lot
Yes.
of
There's a lot of extra videos if
mine
you're
was like
interested.
If I get the time, I'm definitely gonna take a look at them too. That was really
Yeah,
really good. Yes.
thank you. The beekeeping's really cool. I learned a lot with that, and bread making's pretty, self-explanatory, but the beekeeping's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that was cool. The sandalwood was cool too. I've seen references to that, but I've never seen the research done on that one.
Oh, cool.
Usually it's the oil that I've seen talk about. So that was
Oh
kind of
yeah,
cool
the
too.
carvings of sandalwood is really it's intricate. It's really cool and super expensive.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Now let's see if we have a volunteer to follow that one.
It's not me now. That was too good. I can't put myself like that.
I got my audio working, by the way, Mr. Professor Evan.
Okay.
Just saying.
Great, great. Oh, I see Miss Bellows volunteering. All right, this is good. Let me take
I mean, I have to
Mr.
go eventually, so.
True. Okay, I'm gonna make Mr. Loggins a participant again, and I will set you as a presenter.
Alrighty.
And you
Please
should be
don't do
ready.
that. I just gotta figure out where the share screen button is. Nope.
Okay. Purple tab. Open that up, and then right next to the list of the people in here, there's like a square with a arrow.
Oh,
Click on
okay.
that one. And if you want to just open it, share the screen, you should be. Oh, cool.
Okay.
I'll have to play with that some myself. Okay.
It looks like the share button won't work. Like it's not letting me, like I can click it, but it doesn't do anything.
Okay. Let me see.
Oh, there we go. I had to click, like I pressed share screen and then I was trying to press share, but you had to click on the screen little picture there first.
Ah, there you go. Okay.
So I guess I will get started. I have a lot of words, so I'll have to skip over some and kind of summarize. So, my dish is cheesecake, and yeah. So it's believed that cheesecakes were first made on the Greek island of Samos in 2000 BC. This was concluded by researchers because cheesecake molds were discovered there, dating back to that time period. It was originally a simple dish made of wheat flour, honey, and cheese. It was thought of as a good source of energy and was served at weddings. It was typically made by the bride to give to the groom and his friends and family as a sign of hospitality. And that's what formed the tradition of having cake at weddings. Cheesecake ventured out of Greece when the Romans developed their spin on it after conquering the Greeks in 146 BC. The Romans added eggs and, on occasion, a crust. They called cheesecake libuma and ate it on special occasions. The Romans spread the cheesecake recipe throughout their expanding empire, and each country developed a unique variation on the dish. A cheesecake recipe was included in the very first cookbook, Form of Curry, written in London in 1390. A cheesecake recipe was also included in the very first printed cookbook, which was commissioned by Henry, whatever number that is, in 1545, and the cheesecake recipe included had cheese, eggs, butter, sugar, and a pastry crust. The recipe I used was found by food historians in Plymouth Plantation, and the ingredients are flour, whole wheat flour, butter, egg, water, almonds, sugar, nutmeg, salt, ricotta cheese, cream, and rosewater and currants, which I omitted the rosewater and currants for lack of availability. Here are some pictures of me making the dish. Those are all my ingredients lined up, and As the cheesecake recipe changed through the years, the things used to make it changed too. Ovens went from brick wood-fired ovens in ancient times to beehive brick ovens in colonial America, and finally to the popularization of the cast iron stove around 1795. The cooking and serving methods for this dish are pretty simple. Make pie crust, put it in the pan, mix the filling, put it in the pie shell, bake, let rest, slice, and serve. Most of these ingredients would probably be available to lower socioeconomical classes except for nutmeg, almonds, and sugar. Since most cheesecake recipes don't have almonds and nutmeg, those aren't really a problem, but sugar before the Columbian Exchange was extremely expensive. But after the Columbian Exchange, since sugar flourished in the New World, it was much more common, and it finally reached a price where the commoners could buy it for the first time in history. History of cheese. It's unclear exactly when cheese was first made, but some have estimated it to have originated about 8,000 BC when sheep were domesticated. There's evidence of cheese making on Egyptian tomb walls that date back around 4,000 years, and remnants of early cheese making have been found in the Middle East, Europe, and Central Asia. Cheese was probably discovered accidentally by the use of animal stomachs as carrying vessels for milk. In these heated climates, the heat in combination with the chemical rennet found in animal stomachs turned the milk to cheese. Early Roman texts describe the common conception of cheese, and cheese making was popular in the age of the Roman Empire. Cheese making was spread by the Roman Empire to Europe, and cheese being produced in Europe was produced softer varieties of cheese because there was less salt required for preservation due to the cold climate. Cheese was produced by monks in European monasteries, and this continued until the discovery of America. North and South America didn't have cheese until the practice was brought over. Goat cheese was probably the first cheese to make its way to the New World because goats were included on Columbus's first voyage to the Americas. Cow's milk also came to the Americas because Orwell brought cows to the Americas through the Columbian Exchange. Cheese making rapidly became popular in the New World after being brought over, and cheese was in the Pilgrims' food supply when they came over to the New World in 1620. History of eggs and sugar. Eggs have been eaten by humans for quite a while. In fact, jungle fowl were first domesticated in India in 3,200 BC. There are records that support that fowl was domesticated for egg consumption in China and Egypt in 1400 BC, and Europe had domesticated the hens by 600 BC. Domesticated chickens first reached North America with Columbus's second expedition in 1493, and eggs are signifiers of life. Sugar was first domesticated in Papua New Guinea in 8000 BC, and sugar was found in the record of Greeks and Romans from between 0 and 100 AD. While sugar was originally an Old World ingredient, the Columbian Exchange affected not only the New World by spreading it there, but also infected the Old World by greatly increasing the amount of sugar available because of how well sugar grew in the New World. So that finally made sugar available to lower classes and made it more affordable. Sugar's high calorie content and cheap prices led it to be becoming essential to Europe's working class. However, it was mostly used in hot drinks until the 1900s, when using cakes, biscuits, and breads became more common. History of flour, butter, and milk. Humans have been grinding wheat into flour since, according to some sources, 30,000 years ago. Egyptians learned to make bread from flour around 3,000 to 5,000 years ago, and Columbus brought wheat to the New World with his first journey, and Spaniards carried it to Mexico in the 1500s, where its cultivation spread up to the United States. Butter was discovered by accident in Africa in 8000 BC. The first written record of butter making back to 4500 BC, where instructions on how to make butter were recorded onto a limestone tablet. Butter had a religious use for the Sumerians, who offered butter as a gift to their gods. Butter came to the New World from cows, which were brought to Mexico by the Spaniards in 1525. The wild ancestors of cows, Yuraks, were domesticated 8,000 to 10,000 years ago in the Fertile Crescent. There's evidence of people milking cows that dates back to 4000 BC from northern Europe and Britain. Cow milking continued to spread in the Old World, and then in 1525, the Spaniards brought cows to Mexico and introduced the Americas to cow milk. History of almonds and rosewater. Almonds date back to 4000 BC in Western and Central Asia. Almonds spread to Greece by 1000 BC and became essential there. Almonds were then traded along the Silk Road until 1450 AD. Almonds are symbols for good luck and fertility, which led to the tradition of them being given at weddings. King Tutankhamun was buried with almonds and other high-class foods, and almond milk was a popular high-class food in Europe in 1000 to 5000 AD. Almonds traveled to the New World because of the Columbian Exchange when almonds were brought to California from Spain in the 16th century. The first person to refine rosewater was Avicenna, a scientist in the 10th century. This refinement highlighted Europe's valuable commodity and made rosewater into a profitable trade for Persians. Rosewater was used medicinally for religion and became popular with queens and princesses. The English brought rosewater with them to the Americas as part of the Columbian Exchange. Rosewater was so common that almost every sweets recipe called for a dash of it up until the 1840s. It was like so commonly used in sweets. The history of nutmeg and currants. Nutmeg is native to the Spice Islands of Indonesia. The Arabs were the only importers of the spice to England until 1512, when Vasco da Gama claimed the islands for Portugal. In the Middle Ages, nutmeg was an ingredient only known of by the higher class. Nutmeg was extremely sought-after spice for much of history. This ingredient is the reason the recipe would be for higher class due to how expensive it was. Currants. There are both American and European varieties of currants, and these American varieties currants were mostly eaten by Native Americans. This food wasn't impacted greatly by the Columbian Exchange because there were already varieties of currants in both the New and Old Worlds. History of vanilla. Vanilla is an ingredient that, while it was not included in my recipe, is included in most cheesecake recipes today. Vanilla originated in Mexico and Central America and is used as flavoring in other foods. It is one of the few modern cheesecake recipes ingredients that originated in the New World. Vanilla was completely unheard of in the Old World until the Columbian Exchange in 1492. It is unknown whether vanilla was brought back to Spain from the New World by Cortez or by someone else. Regardless, vanilla became extremely popular in Spain as a luxury reserved for the rich. And there are my references.
That was really good.
Thank you. Sorry if it was kind of a mess, but I get nervous talking.
No, really good.
Good job. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just surprised everybody has so much information in their life.
That was really good too. All right. Wow. I gotta say, pretty impressive from the first two. That was great.
Wow, I
got
just
volunteered to
don't
go
want to
third. You might
go.
have scared everybody else off after that, but we'll see.
I'm good. These two don't make me want to go, man. I'm good. Nah, seriously, like mine isn't like that. Like mine goes more into detail about the Columbian Exchange.
I tell you, I don't know if I'd want to follow those two, to be honest.
Mine isn't.
As long as you aren't going to judge me off that, I mean, dang, that was pretty good. Shoot.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
a
that
no
was.
judgment. You got this.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said this is a no judgment zone. We got this.
Yeah. We usually get some pretty good ones in here. It's very rare that there are too many really bad presentations. I've had maybe like 4, 5 that just really weren't. You could tell the people just didn't put much effort into it. But most of the time, even if you're not, don't compare yourself to those two that just went. But chances are yours is going to be just fine.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So I kind of based my presentation, like at least the PowerPoint, around I think we talked about how we were gonna have like a short time period to list it. Will we be able to talk about stuff that's in like our more in detailed write-up that isn't necessarily written in the PowerPoint like presentation part of it?
Correct. Yes.
So we would be able to use
and that's fine. If your PowerPoint was briefer, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to go off of what you submit on the written part, and we have you know, a lot fewer people in here than I was expecting, to be honest. So I think out of what we do have in here, I think there are like 3 or 4 who are going to be shooting videos on their phone and uploading them a little later, just because of issues with you know, getting in last time or something else. So we really only had, I think, about 4, maybe 5 people who were really ready to go. So we got a little bit more time than we were expecting. So if yours is short, that's fine. You can just go ahead and knock it out though, and be done with it. Upload your writing, and you're still fine.
Awesome.
In fact, that sounds like you're volunteering. In fact.
Yeah, I'll go.
All right.
I
All
don't know
right.
how to share my stuff. I guess I just
Okay.
pull up the.
Give me a second. I'm gonna set you as a presenter.
I just gotta pull
All
up
right.
the actual presentation.
Okay, and then I can walk you through it after that.
Okay. Do I go to share application screen?
Yes. And if you've got it open, I think you can go ahead and hit that one in the middle that says application window.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
And I guess you just double click on the application, the PowerPoint, whatever you're using, and it should show up.
All right. Is it really showing?
There you go. You got it.
Okay. I'm gonna pull up also like my actual write up in case I want to like reference to it. Okay, so I did Hungarian stuffed peppers. There is a name for it that I can't pronounce, but it literally translates to stuffed peppers from Hungarian to English. The main ingredients, well, there's a lot of ingredients, but the main 3 that actually were introduced from the New World, from the Columbian Exchange to Europe, would be the tomato, the paprika, and then the bell pepper. Now, the paprika and bell pepper were very similar in that paprika is crushed up capsicum, but it was they're basically spread. They're basically spread and introduced around the same time period in most places throughout Europe by the Spanish and Portuguese and Italian merchants. Here's a list of the ingredients for the recipe that you would have in modern times. Obviously, they wouldn't have cans of tomato sauce in 1600. For old world ingredients, it would include black pepper, ground chuck, ground beef, an egg from chicken, rice, onions, and garlic. All these things were very commonly found by the time the Columbian Exchange happened in Hungary and the Balkan area that it was part of. So I mostly went in depth onto the new ingredients that were introduced and how they got to Hungary by that time. So bell peppers, which is the main, pretty much like the casing and holding of this dish, dates back all the way to 7500 BC in Central America. It was also thought to have spread from the Andes Mountains around Peru simultaneously, while it was found also in like around Mexico and other Central American countries around there. It was mainly unknown to the old world until 1492 when Columbus' expedition brought them back from his initial voyage to the Americas and brought them back to Spain. From there, it was spread very slowly. Initially, it was just kept in the Spanish territory, but then it was spread to Italy by 1544, and from Italy, it was spread throughout the rest of the Mediterranean. The Ottoman Empire was actually the people who ended up spreading it to the Balkans. They gained contact with it by having access and contact with Italian merchants and traders, and also they had also laying siege to Portuguese cities and trading posts, which had the plant inside of them, so they gained access to it by conquest as well. And then by the middle 1550s, the Ottomans had spread the bell peppers and paprika throughout all of the Balkans and Hungary, Pannonian Basin, all the way up into Germany. And that's how it spread through most of southeastern Europe. Let's see. Like paprika is crushed up, ground up powder from the bell pepper. It was widely used in Hungarian cooking. It's found in many dishes even up to today. They adopted it very well. They also, since the climate and soil suitability of Hungary is very similar to actually Central America, they are able to grow their own paprika, and even today they have differing strands and species of paprika that can only grow there in the Hungarian soil. So they're very they assimilated and adapted with the paprika very well. It was used for food, but it was also used for medicinal purposes alongside the crushed up, or the bell pepper, the chili pepper. They thought it would help with respiratory and cardiovascular problems alongside fevers and like other issues that included like animal bites and hair loss and all other range of things. And they do have some medicinal purposes, but they don't help with all those things really. They were also paprika was also introduced, like I said, alongside the bell pepper by the Ottoman Empire when they expanded and conquered southwest and central Hungary and also eastern Hungary around 1541 when they split up the Hungarian nation with the Habsburg Austrians. Tomatoes were a plant that was native to the Americas as well. Is known to be cultivated to at least back to 700 AD by the Aztecs, where then it had come into contact with the Spanish also through the Columbus and through other expeditions that came after it. It was then brought back to Europe by the late 15th century and had reached Hungary by 1526 and Italy by 1544. It was initially just grown as a medicinal plant, or it was just grown to be looked at. It was more of a decoration until really the mid 1600s to early 1700s, to where it had began to be used as a food source for the poor, and then transitioned to being used for food for all classes. Due to this dish having pepper, paprika, tomato, sugar, and meat in it, it would only be available to the wealthy of the burgher class or the merchants, the aristocrat or nobility, and royalty, since it would only be able to be made with rare ingredients that peasants and lower classes would not be able to afford, and it would have to have been prepared by a multitude of chefs and laborers, which would cost an enormous amount of money for just one meal. Like I said, this dish really encompasses a lot of the things that the Balkans and the Hungarian region are known for, that include like stuffed vegetables and fruits, and also it includes meat, which was very influential in Hungarian cuisine due to partially the Magyar tribes, who were basically the proto-Hungarian people who had settled the basin in the 700s and would later be seen as just the Hungarians. And meat was very important to them as a nomadic lifestyle because they couldn't settle down and farm. They always had to keep moving. So they could only bring domesticated animals such as chickens and cows and goats with them. So meat was always a very highly praised commodity. And they also were very liberal with their uses of spices. So it really combined all three of those things together. That. And this is my works cited for the pictures I used, but I have for a separate works cited on the write-up for like the information I found and stuff like that.
It's 3 o'clock.
Okay. All right, let me make you a participant
It's only
again. All right. Okay, hey, that was pretty good too. Still. Yeah, no complaints about that one at all. We got a volunteer for next?
Actually, so you wanted us to submit like that presentation in the discussion board and then the write-up where we found like the rubric and stuff, right?
Yes, sir. That's right.
Okay, cool.
In fact, if you want to, you could on the Dropbox, you could actually submit both. I think you can do unlimited files there. So if you want to put the presentation and the write-up in there, that's fine too.
Okay.
I mean, just in case. I mean, you might have some fact on the PowerPoint that you just forgot to put in the write-up or something. That way you'd still be covered. But no, very good, very good.
Thank you.
All right. So far, everyone's been pretty impressive. Let's see if we got another volunteer. I think you've scared everybody so far. All right. All right. That's all right. I know we had quite a few people who had some technical issues, and we're still getting used to this. And you know, I don't know everybody's status. I know internet access, everything can impact what's going on here. So what I'm going to say is for the people who didn't get to present, if you would, get your phone and record your presentation and just upload that for us, and I will put those somewhere for the class to view if they want to. Doesn't have to be anything particular fancy, and you can cut it short. Like I said, I know some people don't like speaking in front of other people, and probably even more people don't like being on the camera. But you know, just as long as you do the presentation part, you're covered for that part, and then it's the content that you put in to whatever you submit that gets you the bulk of your grade on those other 4 rubric items. So looks like we missed a good class. If we had been able to do this face-to-face, we would have had a decent late lunch, I guess. We would have had, what, cheesecake, gingerbread, and
Stuffed
Hungarian stuffed bell peppers. Which is kind of bad because it's usually why I do it, because people actually get this, like, you know, opportunity to taste different stuff from other cultures from the time period, and it's
Yeah, it would have been neat.
really more of an experience that way. It's really, really neat when we actually do it, but can't avoid it. We kind of have, if you've been watching the news, they've actually talked about some of the pandemic. The last time we had one to this extent, actually more people died and will probably die in this, was about 100 years ago in the 1918 into 1919 Spanish flu pandemic. And before that, you can actually count yourself kind of lucky that you didn't grow up in the 1800s. Here in the United States, we had something like this almost every single year. Maybe not spreading across the whole country, but at least at the city level. You know, like one year, I think it was like 1882, we had about 3,000 people who died just in Memphis. And then 2 years before that, we had something like about 6,000, 7,000 who died in Boston. We had outbreaks, literally on an annual, sometimes more than once in a year. And it wasn't just us; it was worldwide. Y'all probably heard of Typhoid Mary before? Heard that name?
Yes.
Yeah, that was.
Never.
Well, typhoid was a infectious disease, and it's spread from basically having poor hygiene, poor sanitary habits. And Typhoid Mary was a person who infected a well in London, and then the entire community surrounding that well drew their water from it, and basically caused the whole neighborhood to come down with typhoid. So that was something that happened all the time. Late 1800s, cities were really getting big for the first time, and we didn't have running water and a sewer system yet, so sanitation conditions were horrible, and we're much better off now, at least in that regard. All right. So
Didn't
again, make
Queen
sure you.
Elizabeth,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
sorry. Didn't Queen Elizabeth have smallpox and it ruined her face?
Yes, she did have smallpox. It has been written that it did like leave her face pockmarked, although of course
Mm-hmm.
artists never drew it that way, and of course artists who were drawing the queen probably were not gonna put those imperfections in anyway. But
Yeah, smallpox is now eradicated.
it is actually the only disease we have ever completely eradicated, and it has the distinction of having killed more people than anything else through the course of history. Actually, more people died from smallpox than died from warfare
What about malaria?
across the malaria's a pretty big killer, but it kind of is relegated to just the tropical zones. It's actually even rare that you'll even see a case up in like Florida, but you usually see it along that tropical band. So it doesn't come up to like here, for example, or farther north. Smallpox had the advantage; it could literally spread everywhere, and just the fact that it was the big killer of Native Americans, that was by itself probably enough to push it into the number one slot, because that was about 90% of the population died from disease in the two Americas, and that was probably the killer of, out of that 90%, probably about 80% of that 90% from smallpox. And disputes on how many people that would have been, but that's still probably enough to make it number one just off of that alone, without counting everything else. And of course, we do have some problems with that, because before the scientific revolution and modern diagnostics, sometimes it's hard to tell based on the symptoms exactly what disease was killing people anyway. But smallpox is one that's kind of easier to figure out, so it might help when you're counting the numbers for smallpox too. Right. We have any questions, comments, anything?
Nope.
Is the chapter 25 quiz due tonight? Because I think I asked this Monday, and I'm just double checking, because when I look at the quiz, it still says that it's due tonight.
Okay, let me double check and make sure I did this. What I was doing for the classes was I was leaving the due dates as they were. So it's still going to show up as due tonight. But I unchecked the box that keeps y'all from doing it after the due date has passed. So even though the due date's passed, you will still be able to get in there and complete it. And it won't affect your grade at all. It's the only effect will be that I have to go in and click a button to tell it to accept the grade into the grade book.
Okay, so that is officially due next Wednesday then? Or
yeah. Technically, I'm leaving the due date as this week, but chapter 25 could be completed the last day of class at this point, and it would still let you in and take that quiz.
Nice.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Professor Irvin, remember I showed you those 2 videos? I do have a 0 for those tests that I showed you the videos of that I couldn't access, remember?
Yes. Off
Is
the
there any
top of your head,
possible
do you
way?
remember which ones they were? What the chapter numbers were?
I can look real quick because I had 3 videos of each one whenever I did it. I think they were 20. I want to say they were 22, 23, and 24. I showed you the videos that I couldn't access it because I took it just as a precaution.
Okay.
Yeah, I showed you those. Let me see. I might be able to get in real quickly and find out which ones those are. I don't know why it won't let me in. I think I'm able to access the chapter 25 quiz. I think I checked that.
Okay.
Is there any way I can either retake them or maybe get them some other way or figure that out? Let me check real quick and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, it
Give me
was,
just
no,
a
sorry.
second.
It was 20, 21, and 22. And I have the videos.
20, 21, and 22. Okay.
Yes, and those videos.
So let me see. I'm in 22 right now. All right. I'm just going to do the same thing so that it will still show the due date as the old due date, but it'll let you go back in and take those quizzes.
Well,
I
thank
got
you very
22
much.
changed. Let me just open up the other 2 and I'll go ahead and fix those now before I get offline and forget because something else comes up. Okay, let's get one more, and you should be able to take those. All right, if you got any problems with those, just email me.
All right, yes, sir.
I'll see if I
Thank you
can
very
fix them.
much.
That should take care of it, though. All right.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're quite welcome. All right. Let me see. I'm getting a notification on my phone. Let me just this not for this class. Yeah, okay, yeah, we're good. All right. Let's see.
So just clarifying, Mr. Urban, chapter 25 is not due tonight. It could be turned in by next class.
That is correct, yes. In fact, like I said, if you wanted to, you could put that one off until like the last day of class. So since we got, assignments that are due next week, just work at your own pace to get this one caught up as you need to. And then if you have any
perfect.
trouble with any of the ones in the future, just let me know and we'll see what we can do about those too.
Okay, and I uploaded my PowerPoint to the discussion board, but do I also need to turn it in under the Dropbox?
Oh, yeah, yes, actually, and I'm glad you asked that. You do have to upload it to the Dropbox because unless you submit something, your name doesn't pop up, and then I can't do the grading. So it does have to have something submitted to activate it so that I can actually grade your stuff with the rubric.
Speaking of that, I had already submitted my write-up and before I did my presentation, and now I don't see somewhere where I can add on or submit the presentation as well.
Okay. Let me go into that folder and check the settings on it too. It should let you. I usually don't change that, but I will double check. View. Okay, so when you go into the link, you're not seeing the little box that says attach files with browse my computer.
No, it just it opens up what I had already submitted.
Okay. Let me go in here and see what's going on in the settings. Okay. I'll change that. It was set to single, it probably defaulted to that. So I'll I'll change that to unlimited. The due date, let me pull that off too. So I know we got some people who are not going to be prepped to do that. Let me just change it to the next week or so. Okay, I'll change that up to the 2nd. Allow unlimited submissions. Okay, and then you got some time to finish that up. Okay. Let's see. This week was what? Chapter. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, it won't let me upload my PowerPoint to the Dropbox
Okay.
presentation.
Let me see. Tell you what, hit the refresh button. I just clicked the submit button on when I made the changes, so they might not show up until you log back in or that screen. So try to refresh and see if you get something different.
Okay.
Yeah, it says do not attach. Blackboard says do not attach this file or folder.
Let me see. Let me go in and check again. Make sure everything took like it was supposed to. Okay, due date should stop. You know that's there. Unlimited temp, last graded temps, graders. It's not gonna be. Track number. Okay, I'm not seeing anything in the settings that should be.
Does it allow you to submit PowerPoints? Like, will it take it as a document?
Yeah, I submitted mine.
Okay.
In the Dropbox?
Yeah. Well, I mean, mine, it depends on how many gigabytes, I'm guessing megabytes, I don't know. I think, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't know. It won't
It
let
depends
me.
on the file type.
What browser are you using right now?
Me?
Chrome.
No, Mr. Loggins. Chrome?
Chrome.
Okay, do you happen to have Firefox?
I don't.
I know. I don't. Okay, I know Blackboard tends to work better. I'll tell you what. For yours, go ahead and email it to me. I can grade it manually off the rubric and just put the number in to the grade book, so I can still get it in there. I just want to.
Mine worked with.
Would prefer not to, because when stuff's coming in on email, there's a bigger chance that I might miss something. And but I'm pretty sure if it's just one or two, I can get
mine
those.
worked for that.
All right. Okay. Okay. Good. Thought I heard something. No one raised their hand? Okay. All right. All right, next week we're going to go right into chapter 26. If you've looked at the table of contents, you see that we are looking at the Industrial Revolution, so that one's kind of big. It does kind of mean we gloss over the Ottoman and Russian empires, which is too bad because those are really cool to look at, but of course you can read those. Industrial Revolution is a big key chapter, so we definitely want to go over that in class. And then Imperialism is the chapter that follows that. That's a big one as well. And basically, we got a lot of big stuff that's coming up. So, it kind of builds up to the world wars. and then we're getting really into a lot of modern stuff. So we're kind of moving. If you see, we're moving pretty quickly in this. The world history class does go through some pretty big global changes, obviously, in a short course. So again, try to keep up with it. We're going to be looking at. I'm guessing we'll go over some stuff on the chapter on Monday and look at that Industrial Revolution. And then on Wednesday, we will go into some stuff about the research paper, getting our research conducted, making sure we get the sources that we want, the right kind of sources. And then we'll probably do the same thing over the course of the next couple weeks. We're going to have one where we talk about formatting so that we make sure that we get the Chicago manual style format properly done there. But we're going to move right along. If you have any troubles, again, let me know. If we're moving fast and you need a slower pace, let me know that too. Kind of hard to slow the pace down, but what we can do is see if we can set some time, get I don't know, some virtual office hours, work with you one-on-one, or maybe get you into that student success center if you want to try that route. Work with the tutors, especially on the writing stuff, and then we can hopefully keep y'all all right on pace to finish up. We do have that extra week that the administration added on, so we're good to go as far as pacing, and just keep going forward. All right. Again, any other struggles, like if you got economic issues that are going to, cause problems for you in the class, let me know that. If you got health problems, any of that stuff, just let me know. All right. Everyone else who didn't present today, go ahead and upload those videos. You can actually email those to me. Shoot them with your phone. I didn't get to ask if everybody has a smartphone, but I assume everybody does in this day and age. If not, we can probably spread out a couple presentations, do like maybe one or two over the course of a few class periods so that we get everybody, get their requirements out of the way and be able to have the class.
Sorry. Can we submit it
Go
through
ahead.
personal?
Yours
Just because mine doesn't work for some reason.
doesn't work. Oh man. Okay. What is yours in? Are you using a Google or Apple software?
I'm using iCloud on my phone.
Okay, that might be why. I think there's some trouble in it.
Because I mean, on my phone, it doesn't let me
Right.
send you an email from Linear Tech. But if I can submit an email through my computer, but the thing is, if I'm gonna record through my phone, I don't know how to submit it on my laptop.
I see. Yes. Okay.
You can.
You got some options on that. I think I can take that. Just let me know what your email address is beforehand, so that I can make sure I'm not clicking on one of the phishing or hacking emails that we get all the time.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, as long as I know that it's a legit email, and at this point, it probably
Okay,
would
because
be
my
highly
email,
unlikely to be something else.
email is just Kenya S18 iCloud. That's it.
Okay. All right. So I'm pretty sure I'd recognize that then. So yeah, go ahead and do that. That'll be all right this time.
Okay, and then you can go ahead and finish off because I do have a couple questions.
I was gonna say, let me know, or I'll let you know, because just as a warning, sometimes when stuff is coming in on the cloud, like we've had some people who've tried to upload stuff straight from like Google Drive, and when I open it up on my end, I just saw a blank page. So if that happens, don't worry about it. We'll get the file some kind of way, so we get the grade in. So don't worry about that. But just so you're aware, that might happen, and if it is, we'll fix it somehow. Don't worry.
Yeah, because last time when I tried sending you an email from Linear, the app, it didn't work. So I just sent you an email from my personal, and I'm guessing that's why you weren't able to respond back.
Yeah, we're technically not supposed to. I think right about the time we moved into the new campus building there, about a year ago, actually about a year ago in this semester. We had like a bunch of phishing emails where people were using emails that looked like the presidents and vice presidents trying to get through the security here at the
Oh,
college. So that's why they
well,
don't want us to do that. But
yeah,
but
I'll
if I
just try my
recognize that it's legit, we're good.
yeah, I'll just try my best then to do that, and then if not, it's just gonna have to do with my personal. Since you didn't get my last email, I do have a question about the research topic. I don't know if you remember that about me having a
Okay,
zero.
go ahead and ask. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yes. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'll
So,
go ahead and get that fixed.
okay. Yeah, I did submit that. Just in case you didn't know, it is on I can't pronounce it right. Hammurabi code, the Hammurabi code.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So
All
just in
right.
case you
Yes.
didn't know, and then yeah, and then I have one more question. Sorry. Um,
All right.
it's about me registering for biology. It's not letting me for
Uh-huh.
some reason.
Okay, I might know the problem with that. Um, did you like
It,
click
like,
on the class and just hit the register button?
well, it tells me that it's like it gives me like a little a red exclamation mark, and it says pre-quiz, something like that.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, probably a error. I think is the message you get. Okay. Um, yeah, what to do is when you're registered. Actually, hold on a second. Let me turn the recording off here.